This week's movie, Who Am I? I'm a fish out of water who has bad teeth and a love for being frisky. Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, episode 56. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers and coarse language, so you've been forewarned. Hey, we're the Theatre Gorillas. My name is Carlos.
And I'm Heath.
And each and every fortnight we get together and talk about movies, or in this case, television shows.
Yeah, we've done television shows before, but never really... Before.
Yeah.
But not as soon as we've done this one. Like, this one we're doing quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, well, as well, we haven't entirely watched the entire season of it.
No, that's why as well we're doing it very early.
Yeah.
Like, on in our watching.
Right, so before we get into everything... we get the usual crap out of the way. Our website is theatregorillas.com, spelt the UK English way. If you go there, you can then find our various social medias, such as Twitter, Facebook,
Instagram,
YouTube.
Yep.
And if you're watching this video, then obviously you found us.
Yay, YouTube.
And the usual stuff. Rate, like, subscribe, comment, whatever, and share, because it always helps.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So this week we are discussing Luke Cage.
The whole neighborhood is yapping about how two goons got the beat down last night.
Yes, the Marvel's Luke Cage that had just dropped only on Friday, actually.
Yes, so
September 30th.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
Right. And how many episodes have you gotten into so far?
I'm actually about 8 episodes in.
Okay. So I'm up to episode 7.
Oh, nice.
So the halfway-ish point.
Yeah.
Now, we've covered the Netflix series of Marvel stories.
Well, we did Daredevil.
We did Daredevil. Did we do season 2?
I know. We did Jessica Jones, though.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we haven't done season 2 of Daredevil.
No.
And we've skipped that one to do this one.
Yes.
Right, okay. So with Daredevil, it was unanimous. We all loved it.
Absolutely.
Jessica Jones, there were a few little tidbits that were glaring, such as the way they showcased her power, but it wasn't ultimately about her power.
No.
It was about more so the drama of her being a detective.
Yeah, it was
just an alcoholic. And
it was actually basically almost a film noir with superpowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and in that series, we see the first glimpses of Luke Cage.
Yes.
And we see what he's capable of. And what I actually like is with this season of Luke Cage, they don't forget about what's happened, and they've actually started tying in a few things all together.
Yeah, they've actually been very... what's the best way to say it? When it comes to continuity, they've been very, very clear on where it all connects in the not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because really I find that all of these are all very much just tied to the incident, as it's always described as.
Has it always been called The Incident, or is it just this time?
No, since Daredevil season 1, it was always called The Incident.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't remember, to be honest.
That's it. I rewatched it recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hankering to watch it all again.
Oh, it's very good on the second viewing. Very, very good. I actually really want to watch season 2 again, because I haven't done that second viewing yet. But we've got this to watch anyway. Anywho, so they tie in all of that. We also get the nice little nod tie-in, with Hammer Industries and Justin Hammer.
Yep.
But what I do love is straight away they talk about, the girl that shot him in the head.
They do mention the shotgun.
Yes, the shotgun to the head. They don't mention her by name straight away.
Yeah.
They do later on.
Right.
But they do mention the fact...
I don't think I'm up to that part. I do remember the early characters in the show. So Pops discussing how he took the shotgun to the face.
Yeah.
And he's still powering on. You notice the casual drop of Power Man.
Yeah.
During that conversation.
I actually really like that as well. Kept on calling him Power Man. I'm Power Man.
I have to admit because the history of the character is from the 70s, during a time where there weren't many characters that showed off the sort of black culture and in Marvel, and they really wanted to break out and just say, hey, we're progressive. We're not
Absolutely.
So Luke Cage came out of that sort of era of writing and I'm trying to think of a decent word to.
Well, it was. It's that era of comic book writing when there was. It's the social awareness and the social conscience of what's going on in society at that time.
Yeah.
You had DC doing it with the introduction. The introduction of Jon Stewart.
Yep.
As Green Lantern, you had Marvel doing it as well with other, and it wasn't just African American characters because they had other African American characters as well, but you also had Asian American characters. You had characters of different culture, not just your stock standard white guy.
Yeah.
So
it was born from that era, and that actually comes about in this series a lot.
Yes, very much so.
And the way you can tell is more so the music. The music is very 70s influenced through jazz, through a bit of disco. And, I mean, the main villain of the show, Cottonmouth, he's a club owner in this. And so the music is portrayed through him having the club.
Yes.
And so anyone who comes to perform is doing a really interesting number, and it's used throughout the episode. It's not just a play-off. It's actually used quite well.
And not only do they do that where they do use the music really well, what I've actually read is that they got local musicians.
Yes, so and you can tell.
Yeah, so they've got actual real musicians, people who are from Harlem or from New York, and they're, not just older, because they do get older people as well, but they also get younger blues or jazz musicians or even hip-hop, R&B musicians. And and I find that they choose the music dependent on the tone or the theme of the episode.
Yes.
So it kind of does, they've done a very good job at
very artistically chosen to be like the driving force behind the message they're trying to convey for the episode.
Exactly right. Like I think there's one episode where they've got a great African American singer, looks almost like a James Brown kind of sound.
Yeah.
If you don't do me right, I'm going to do you in. Mm-hmm. And I think, and then what ends up happening in that episode is someone does get done in.
Yeah, it's very much a case of revenge, and if you screwed up, so there's the payback.
Exactly right.
What I wanted to talk about in particular is not just the nods to the history of Luke Cage. Like, I mean, you do get to see his original costume when he gets his power, which is, I thought the way they actually showed it off was in a way cheesy, but also clever.
Yeah.
And well, it's at least it doesn't stay with him for long.
No. Yeah. And I like it that he makes that comment. He catches a glimpse of himself in the car window.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this.
Yeah. He's dissatisfied.
Yeah.
What I also like is the like I said before, the nods to the other shows.
Yep.
So they don't mention him by name, but they mention in passing in reference to Daredevil.
Yes.
They also mention, as we said before, Jessica Jones. But what I like is that they also have Trish from Jessica Jones.
Yes, and she actually
in the radio,
on it. Yeah, which I thought was great.
She does a radio report regarding Luke Cage coming out.
Yep.
And see, the funny thing is, like, Daredevil hides in the shadows. People know that he's about because he's been saving people.
Yep.
But no one has seen him.
Yes,
if you know what I mean.
Exactly right.
Jessica Jones is someone who was forced into the limelight, but then has quickly disappeared again.
Yep.
At least from what we know
from
of.
what we know of, yes.
Whereas Luke Cage is the first one out of the lot to go, no, fuck you, I'm here, and you're not going to get rid of me.
And actually, let's just talk about that as well, because exactly with that, stemming from what happened to him in Jessica Jones, when we do first meet him, he's there, he's working 2 jobs, he's trying to stay under the radar as well. Like he's working for Pops, just sweeping, doing the, dishwashing.
Now, I wanted to ask about that. Is he under the radar because of what happened during Jessica Jones, or because that he's escaped from prison?
I think a little bit of both. So, I mean, before he was able to hide under the radar by working at the bar.
Right.
However, you've now got him there. It's like the bar's been burnt down. He had that big fight with her. I don't feel like he wanted to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
Until, of course, the catalyst that sets him off, which is
His Uncle Ben.
His Uncle Ben, exactly right. And, spoilers, Pop dies.
That's what we mean by Uncle Ben.
Yeah, exactly right. But exactly, from that point, he's like, because Pop was saying to him, you should be helping people. You should be doing good.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's going out and he's going to do. But he doesn't mind that he's known doing it either.
And what I find interesting is that he wants to go back into hiding after all that.
Yeah.
But it's not until Rosario Dawson reappears as the night nurse, and she's also the common link between all the shows.
Oh, yeah, she's throughout it all.
Until she appears and she actually says, I need to find these people. Like, initially she didn't want anything to do with anyone, but now she's like, there are people that can make a difference, and I want to link these people. I thought that was a really cool moment.
I thought that was great as well.
But what I find interesting, it's not until she sort of starts to intervene with him and engage him that he realizes maybe I should stick around.
Yeah, it's as well, because I felt like he felt his job was done. His job was to right the wrong that was done to Pop, the destruction of Pop's place, the death of Pop.
Yeah.
And he wants to put Cottonmouth behind bars. Of course, we have some shit happening and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But exactly. Now you've got the night nurse coming in.
Yeah.
And she's there going how much she can actually help as well, and pushing. I can see her being the catalyst that pushes all of them together.
Well, I think so. I think that that's what they're doing, because it's obviously with Daredevil, he falls into her lap basically.
Yeah, quite literally.
And then with Jessica Jones, she runs into the hospital with Luke Cage when he's like unconscious.
Yeah.
And thrusts him upon her. Like, she already knows, like, okay, there's something going on. And because the needle can't pierce his skin, she's like, okay, I've dealt with this sort of stuff before. It's fine. And I think it's because of that incident she starts to think, okay, maybe there's more to do here, like, and I definitely see that. I definitely see she's the one that's going to bring the Defenders together.
Absolutely, yeah. She's going to be the one who goes, you know what, and of course she wants to help people as well, but she wants to help people by helping powered people. Like, that's her driving force. I mean, these guys, they're going to get injured. They need someone to fix them.
Exactly right. So they're the ones that are putting their lives on the line to help others.
Yep.
They're going to need someone to help them when their life is on the line.
Which I love as well, because that's one thing with these Marvel characters, but also these Marvel shows, is all of these characters have a weakness.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can be hurt, they can be injured, except for Luke Cage. And this is actually something I'll bring up in just a moment. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's a great little, having the Night Nurse as a character that ties all of that together would be a great little way to have the Defenders come together.
Yeah.
Knowing that they've got this bond.
Well, the other thing is, because they're all over New York, right?
Yeah.
So they're not in the same boroughs as one another.
You've got Harlem, Hell's Kitchen.
How else would you, only by chance, for whatever reason, is Night Nurse in Harlem? I'm assuming it's where she grew up.
Yeah, she grew up in Harlem.
So
that's why her mum owns the restaurant,
I guess,
or something.
Yeah, I guess that's the tie-in there. But otherwise, how else do you connect them? Aside from, hey, I hear you've been helping this part of the city.
Exactly. And it's also, I mean, there is just the coincidence factor as well, because it was just coincidence that Jessica went into that hospital with Luke on that night.
Very much so.
And so now she knows who that person is.
Yeah.
He's also being more in the limelight, so she's got an easier way of tracking him down.
Well, yeah, because he is in the media and he's like, well, here I am, you can't get rid of me. It's easier for her to sort of start that initiative of there's more and more of them now.
Yeah. Which there is. Yeah. There, exactly. And I find it interesting as well that they are talking about that there are more powered people coming in. They are making that reference that there are more people with powers showing up.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Now, I wanted to talk about in particular, actually, what was it that you wanted to bring up?
Just something I wanted to bring up before is when I was talking about it. Like, with all of the shows that, like the Jessica Jones and Daredevil so far, I kind of found myself almost grabbed straight away. In other words, I was in it and I was like, yep, I'm going to binge watch the shit out of this. I'm going to watch every episode. Here I go, here I go.
Yeah.
I didn't get that right away with Luke Cage. I think
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's because I really love all the auxiliary characters. I thought they're done pretty well, and I was really interested in them. But I am interested in Luke, but he's invulnerable. He's got nothing that can stop him. He goes into any situation and dominates.
But I think that's part of the charm of his character, because initially, at first, no one knows that he's capable of these things. So they all think he's just a punk who's big.
Yeah.
And when they do whatever they're trying to do, whether it's shoot him, stab him, punch him, like the first fight that we get with him, is that one big guy tries to punch him in the face and instead breaks and shatters his wrist.
Oh yeah, and I like that shot with the bone coming straight
actually
through.
coming out.
Yeah.
Like, so that's part of the charm, like, because he's this powerhouse that no one has an idea until, when people start to become aware that that's Luke Cage, like it's not a myth or anything like that, then yes, I can see where you're coming from. But I think more so in part was what I was about to bring up was regarding Cottonmouth.
Okay.
Now, I think it's the way the show has been sort of put together. And I feel that the reason it doesn't engage me as much as the other shows is that I'm finding Cottonmouth not a very... For example, we have Daredevil.
Yep.
And with Daredevil, they're talking about, for example, the boss, right? You don't want to mention his name, blah, blah, blah. And when eventually you meet Fisk, it's a powerhouse.
Yep.
And you see how on the edge this guy is.
And as a character as well, he was fantastic, like superb, yeah.
And so when he engages, there's this moment of, I don't know how to feel about this guy.
Yeah.
I don't trust him, and yet I'm frightened. And when he finally explodes, it's scary.
Yeah.
And Cottonmouth, I find, is like a cheap imitation. And I feel like, okay, we've got a guy who's invulnerable, but we need, in order for him to be like a counterpart, he needs to be just as ferocious as he is invulnerable, like that sheer raw strength that he has.
Yeah.
And so what I find is they've got someone who's meant to be this menace, who's crazy, and it just doesn't come through. It just doesn't, I think the actor's fine. Either the character that they've given him doesn't work on screen as it does on paper, or he might not be the best fit for the character.
I think as well, like, it's funny that you drew the comparison between Fisk and Cottonmouth as characters.
That's what we've been given.
Absolutely. And with Fisk as well, like, Fisk not only is ruthless and strong, yet driven.
Yeah.
You've got a guy, Cottonmouth is driven, like he wants to be the king of Harlem, but he's also very low key, as in, no, sorry, not low key, small time.
Right.
In comparison. Fisk is about, Hell's Kitchen, but also at the same time, New York.
But Fisk is also a powerhouse that is drawing in international crime.
That's exactly right. So we're talking big, global, huge. You've got this one guy who, he's linked to other organizations in Harlem, but he's basically...
But he's still an underdog.
He's an underdog. He's basically a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Right? He's not very big. He's not as big as Fisk is.
The other thing is, from the very beginning with Daredevil, Fisk is in charge. Fisk has other partners.
Yeah.
Right? But he is very much in charge of his area.
Yeah.
And then with the other crime lords either running away or being taken care of by Daredevil, Fisk ends up taking control.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas with Cottonmouth, it's a different story altogether. We have from the very beginning a botched robbery where some money gets taken, but the guns, like a sale that just doesn't work out. And from the very beginning, Cottonmouth is being approached by Shades saying,
You fucked up,
and the boss is angry, and he sent me to fix it.
And I think that's as well because, and I mean, granted, and I'm sure it's going to kind of eventuate. See, we still haven't met Diamondback.
Right, yeah.
So Diamondback, the name that we keep on hearing, Diamondback's not going to be happy about this. Diamondback's got you, he will help you out. But if, I feel like Diamondback, he's the Fisk.
You reckon?
Yeah. Or when I say the Fisk, he's the ultimate villain.
Right.
He's the one who's going to be ruthless. He's the one who's going to have the upper hand.
And do you think the way they mention him but you never see him, and that Shades is always like the one talking about it, do you think Shades is it Wilson?
Oh,
that's Wilson Fisk.
Yes. Yes, I know who you're talking about. He's offsider, the one with the glasses.
Yes, yeah.
Who ends up getting shot.
So you're telling me that Shades is kind of like Wesley from Daredevil?
Yeah, so Wesley's from season 1, the one who Karen ends up shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly it. I feel like he's the loyal subject or the loyal servant, very loyal to Diamondback. But we haven't met Diamondback yet, so we don't know what his go is.
If that is the case, like I'd like to continue watching these episodes and eventually maybe do another episode in a few, maybe in 2 or 3 episodes' time, and wrap up this discussion of Luke Cage quickly. Maybe leading into another episode.
Yeah.
But if that is the case, then it's a retread of Daredevil, and I think it's lazy.
Well, see, it might be a little bit, but we don't know. Once again, we don't know who the ultimate goal of Diamondback is.
Right.
See, Diamondback obviously has connections, military style connections, because he gets the guns from Hammer Industries.
Yeah.
So we're talking military hardware, like the big guns. So he's obviously got those sort of connections. He could just be like a high level gun runner. We don't know.
Maybe, but the way it's been portraying,
it's very mysterious.
That is the case,
yeah.
It's very much retreading Daredevil, and I don't think it quite works in this instance. Like majority of the first few episodes, I've been feeling like it's and I hate to say it, it's a black version of Daredevil.
See, I don't know what you mean there, and as well,
which I don't necessarily have a problem with. I just think it's lazy, and I don't think it's written as thoroughly as what Daredevil was.
See, I don't get the Daredevil aspect of it, and I think it's because, once again, we're looking at a different character whose motivations and strengths are very different.
Yeah.
However, saying that though, I do get that, okay, maybe with that same mystery aspect. Like, for example, and this came up, they didn't do this in Daredevil season 1, but they did it in Jessica Jones, actually. I think they started this little trend where it's the Netflix, the Marvel Netflix 6 episodes, like kind of 6 episodes. They do the first 6-7 episodes where it's kind of like the first half of the story.
Right.
Then it culminates to something, so something ends. Like, so for example...
So what, out of the 13 episodes, there are 2 story arcs?
Kind of. Or there's a major story arc that goes across all 13.
The first 6-7 episodes are the setup, and the next 6-7 episodes
is
the conclusion.
Is the conclusion, yeah.
Right.
So, as you would have seen at the end of episode 6, that they've now arrested Cottonmouth.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, okay, is that Cottonmouth story done? Do we have that part finished? Just like in Daredevil season 2, the Punisher story was over, but it was not the end of the Punisher story. It was the beginning of the Punisher trial and and then the Fist story.
Right. Okay.
So maybe now what we'll have is end of Cottonmouth. But then we've got the Cottonmouth trial. We've got the Diamondback coming out.
In the case of Cottonmouth, I don't think he's going to get a trial. I think he's going to worm his way out because he's got so many corrupt cops that don't want to be found out.
Well, you've got that because he's meant to have so many under his belt.
So I've got a feeling Cottonmouth is going to get out, and what's going to happen is maybe he'll stay in jail for a while, and someone else is going to come and clean. Maybe Diamondback appears finally.
Yeah, cleans up his mess.
And takes on Luke Cage because all the operation's been disrupted. What I want to talk about in particular, you mentioned before that you weren't really interested in Luke Cage until that benchmark, pretty much.
Yeah.
But you were more concentrated on the supporting characters. Yeah. Is that mainly to do with the fact that Luke Cage is just basically invulnerable? He's kind of like Superman.
Yeah. I mean, look, and you'd still care about the main character because it's his story. If it didn't have him in it, you wouldn't have a story.
Yeah.
So he is kind of the centerpiece. But it's more that, like, he doesn't... Yeah, we've had some great action sequences, like when he goes into that building, the Crispus Atticus.
Yep.
when he goes into that building, I mean, that action scene where they're just coming at him with everything and it's all just bouncing off and he's walking through.
I'm from a city where having a heart is not suggested. I'm a maverick, a tapping backs, I'm a savage. I'm cleaning braces.
What I found...
Like, it's a great show. It's a great scene.
What I found fun is when the auxiliary characters are his conscience.
Yes.
Because...
But you've got Pops.
Well, the main thing is that Luke Cage, in himself, he is, because he's so concerned about just staying under the radar. He doesn't engage much. What I found is when, for example, Night Nurse gets involved, that whole sequence of trying to save the cop who is corrupt and dirty and has been shot. That whole sequence, that last section of the entire episode, was probably the most exhilarating out of what we've seen so far, because something's actually happening.
Exactly. And you've got him as well using his power to protect. Like, that point where they're in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And he actually puts his arms up and he's just getting shot over and over and over again. But I mean, he's bulletproof, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And they're running off. And then you've got that fantastic part as well where the truck's about to run into them and then it's just bang, stopped.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to get out of that.
Thought that was brilliant. But exactly it. And that's when you're seeing his power used kind of to protect people. So he's
becoming the hero.
And you weren't worried about him getting hurt. You're worried about them getting hurt.
Yes.
And that's the other thing I mean as well. You know he's not going to get hurt.
Yeah. So therein lies the real story of Luke Cage. It's not so much Luke Cage, it's who's around him and the supporting characters.
Yes.
They're really the star of the show.
And it's because he cares. Even though he acts like he doesn't, he still cares. I mean, the reason why he gets into doing it in the first place is because of
Pops.
So
in saying that, I wanted to ask you a couple of things. One, out of the first 6 to 7 episodes you've seen,
yep,
who is your favourite character right now?
My favourite?
Yeah.
In those first 6 episodes, probably Shades.
Shades.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on.
See, I find him really snaky.
Yes, but it's like, to what extent is he snaky? And
a little bit egotistical.
Yeah, totally egotistical. He feels like he's got confidence coming out of his wazoo. Like it's going nuts. But it's more that I think it's because he does have that air of mystery of who is he? Okay, we know he was in prison with Luke Cage.
Yep.
But what connections does he have? How did he get out of prison? How does he know? Because he seems to be in line. Well, he's not above Cottonmouth, but he works for someone above Cottonmouth, so he's virtually got that untouchable aspect to him. Like the way he talks to Cottonmouth as well. Yeah, it is like Cottonmouth is an underling. So
yeah, I'm surprised that Cottonmouth hasn't actually slapped the shit out of him.
Yeah, man. Like, I get that. That's where I kind of go. But he's obviously got something about him. There's something going on.
The funny thing is, when Shade first appears, it's almost like, oh, Big Brother's pissed off with you.
Exactly right.
And then suddenly, in episodes to come, Shades is talking to him like he's his best friend, which I find really strange.
I think that's because he's almost like a salesman.
You reckon?
Yeah, it's like, I'll talk to you like you're my mate. It's all good. Now buy my car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or buy these guns.
But it gets you. It takes down your inhibitions. It makes you really relaxed. So that's what I mean. What's he playing at? Who's yours?
Yeah, fair enough. My favourite has to be Night Nurse, Rosario Dawson. In every iteration of these shows, from the moment we see her in Daredevil, she sticks it to Daredevil, and she gives him her peace of mind.
Yeah.
And then when the Russians kidnap her, she fucking lets loose.
Yeah.
And she's just been this voice of reason throughout all the series that I cannot wait for her to appear.
Okay.
And every time she appears, she's kind of, I don't know, there's just something about her presence that just makes all the other characters go, hey, yeah, okay, maybe we should be doing this.
Yeah.
And it's no different when she appears with Luke Cage. she's like, yeah, I'll come and help. Normally she gets thrown in the deep end. She's like, I don't want to help, but fine, I can't leave this person alone. To now going, fuck it. Oh, yeah, okay, fine, I'll help. And then it's when they're on the run and Luke Cage is trying to figure out ways for them to escape. And she's like, fuck, this is dangerous, but okay. I don't know. It's just, for me, it's Rosario Dawson. I think she makes everything link together really well. And that's why before we were saying that we reckon that she'll be the one that combines everyone into the Defenders. I think she's the common link. And I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
For me, it's her.
I think you know what? It's funny. I think we both, you know how we mentioned before, we may have to revisit this after we finish the series.
I do think so, because I'd like to see how the last lot of episodes sway our opinion.
Yep.
The next question I wanted to ask was, where out of what Netflix has released for Marvel, where do you rate Luke Cage currently? So what order, what from first to fourth, because there's been 4 series of things.
Yep.
How would you rate them?
Currently fourth. Yeah, so Daredevil Season 1 totally for me did it. Yep. Jessica Jones second. And can I say, Jessica Jones on a second watch through is fucking phenomenal.
Yep.
I need to get Daredevil Season 2 after that and then Luke Cage. But saying that, I haven't finished Luke Cage yet, so that could change.
Yeah. I am 100% with you on that. Yep. I am exactly the same order, everything.
Yep.
So Daredevil Season 1, Jessica Jones, yep. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is, with the current episodes you have watched, do you recommend the show?
Yes, absolutely. If anything, for the episode where we find out his origin, that is a great episode, done very, very well. And also the one that you just mentioned as well, when they're trying to help the detective. Fantastically done shots, really well done. You actually, like you said, you really feel for the characters, and very engrossing. So I would absolutely recommend watching this show. So
for me, I do recommend it. It's just in terms of how gripping it is.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same.
It doesn't have the same sort of draw as what the others have had. So, like, for example, Daredevil with Season 1, the opening scene really just throws you into it. And then by the time we get to Episode 2, where he goes to save the boy, that whole sequence is fantastic. And it's,
you're in.
You know, like, it became the talked about scene of the entire first season.
Yeah.
You have to watch it for that.
Yeah.
You have to watch it for that. With Jessica Jones, it was the constant mind games with her opposition.
Yeah, Kilgrave.
Kilgrave, thank you. So the constant sort of, she's terrified of him because of what he can do.
Yeah.
And then the menacing nature of his persona is really drawing you in. Like,
yeah.
So the whole series, you're like, okay, what fucking thing is he going to come up with next? And that is like the draw. But with Luke Cage, like, it doesn't happen until Episode 6.
And I know that's a very long, you know, you've got to, like, that's basically investing 5 hours into a show before
it pays off.
You're paying off. But see, then I think I like that they did break it up with that little part in the middle, like I said, with his origin story.
So at this stage, I'm prepared to give it 2.5 bananas.
I'm prepared to give it 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 bananas. But I think we should definitely get back together and do a follow-up episode of the second half of the show.
Yeah, so do we do it for the next episode, or do we incorporate it into another episode?
Let's do it for the next one.
Do it for the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll finish watching and we'll reconvene for the next episode.
Yep. So, and
give our final thoughts.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 2.
Part 2. Okay, so this is the end of part 1.
Yeah.
Yes. In saying that, before we jet, enjoy your fortnight for the next podcast.
Yes.
But that was a bad sign off. Anyway,
enjoy your week and fortnights and podcasts.
Yes. Just to mention quickly, we do have another show, which is Jungle Play, which is, if you like games like we do, then on alternating weeks, these drop. So this week is Banana Reel, next week will be Jungle Play, and vice versa.
Exactly right.
So catch that. Not only that, Stay tuned for the end of the theme song to find out what this week's movie Who Am I is.
Yes.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey, so you stayed on to find out what this week's movie Who Am I is, and the answer is do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. It's Austin Powers, if you haven't figured it out.
And it's International Man of Mystery, 1997.
Fuck, was it 1997?
1997, so almost 20 years ago.
Holy crap.
I know. And I remember seeing that movie twice at the cinema.
Really?
Yeah. I remember, common friend of ours going, you got to go see this movie. He hadn't seen it, so we went and watched it.
Yeah.
And then we were like, that's awesome. And just before it finished its run, we went back and saw it again.
What I remember is that this movie just started this fucking craze.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone mimicking Mike Myers being Austin Powers. And like Mike Myers has this knack of being really corny to begin with, and is the only way that this character can possibly exist. And everyone else's interpretation and mimic of it is so horrible.
Oh, it's totally bad.
So horrible. And it lasted for so long.
Oh, it's still going.
Oh, it's just ridiculous.
Like, I guarantee virtually any costume party you go to, there'll be at least one Austin Powers. Well,
for my
there.
21st, it was the dress up.
Yeah.
It was anything to do with Hollywood, so TV show or movie, I didn't care. At the time, Harry Potter was just starting off.
Yes, that's right.
So I went as Hagrid, and a couple of friends went as
Harry and
all that. But one friend in particular came as Dr. Evil.
Yes.
So
shit, that's right.
Yeah. Had the cat and everything to go with it.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Bigglesworth. Love it. Love it.
So anyway, it's a good movie. It still holds up, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. I actually rewatched it recently, and
I haven't watched it in so long.
Oh, no, like I was rewatched it recently and laughed my ass off. It was fucking brilliant. I actually also watched Goldmember.
The third one,
the third one?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's hilarious.
That one stands the test of time for me.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
The second one, I think, is rubbish.
It's not rubbish, but it ain't great.
I think it's rubbish. It just recycles the jokes of the first movie over and over.
I've lost my mojo. No, one sec. That's the third one? No, that was the second one. Yeah. I've lost my mojo.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's it for this week.
Yes. Go out and watch.
We'll see you in a fortnight. Otherwise, catch Jungle Play.
Absolutely.
Bye.
See ya.
This podcast is recorded and produced by Theatre Gorillas. Edited by Dan Clark.